anti tishtanti swayamatape paropkaraya falanti vrikshaha vasmai sarva prakrite sarvaswam.
To translate the same, nothing is permanent except nature. Having a sun is equal to having a life of a century. Having a tree is like having 10 suns. A tree that stands in scorching sunlight but provides a cool shadow to others. The fruit of the tree that are for all, and everything of mine is dedicated to nature. With that, I, Divyadrashta Mahapatra, along with my co-host Anvesha Rath, wish you a very good evening. It is our great honor to stand before you today as your valedictorian for the 3rd International Conference on Sustainable Development, a Value Chain Perspective 2023.
The value of sustainable development is among the most crucial lessons we've learned today. In order for future generations to inherit a world that is healthy and thriving, sustainable development aims to strike a balance between economic growth, social justice, and environmental protection.
It is crucial to keep in mind this idea as we progress into our careers and live outside this institution. So it's time to begin the session with the symbolic felicitation of our esteemed guest. For that, I would now like to call upon Director Sir to do the honors, and I would also like to call upon Neeraj Sir to hand out over the bouquet to Sir. So,
please come on stage, sir. Can we have a round of applause, please?
Thank you so much, sir. Can we have a round of applause?
Now, I would like to invite Dr. Neeraj Singhal, Assistant Professor in Strategic Management, Management Development Institute, Murshidabad. Sir has been a part of Global FDP in the Wharton School and IIM Ahmedabad. He has contributed to numerous international and national conferences. Sir, we invite you to deliver the rapporteur report.
Very good evening to one and all present. Good evening, Honorable Director, Professor Dr. Atmanand, Patron, SDVP 2023, distinguished dignitaries connected via Zoom, guest of the evening, DGM HR, NIPCO Meghalaya, Shri Manas Bose, Executive Director, Logistics and Infrastructure, Steel Authority of India Limited, Professor Dr. W.C. Singh, Registrar, Manipur University, Dr. Murli Kanakasawai, Co-founder and Chief Operating Officer, Exponential Exchange, USA, delegates from academia and corporate, my faculty and non-faculty colleagues from MDIM, and very dear students. It's a pleasure and a proud moment for me presenting this rapporteur report on behalf of the SDVP 2023. This conference is conceptualized in line with the vision and mission statement of MDIM towards continuous innovation to nurture responsible leaders for creating sustainable alternatives. The conference achieved this objective by witnessing contribution from academicians, researchers, corporates, practitioners, students, NGO, and other non-profit and profit stakeholders. During the 2 days, February 3rd and 4th, 2023, 138 authors from different part of globe presented 102 papers and posters, including 12 international contributions by the 15 authors. The authors' contribution mapped in 14 tracks as marketing, finance, HRM, operations, environment, strategy, economics, social and cultural aspects of the sustainability. Before I'll conclude my report, I would like to recite my 2 lines in the context of sustainable footprints for the generations to come, considering the corporate, practitioners, researchers and individuals. वक्त की लहरों में जो गुम हो गए हैं, उसमें कुछ निशान हमारे भी हैं. वो बात अलग है कि अपने कदमों के निशान हमने जनमानस पे नहीं, समुद्र रूपी रेत पर उतारे. So the meaning here is to leave the footprints of your sustainable initiatives for the generations to come as corporate practitioners and researchers and individuals, which will be remembered by the next generations which are going to come. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Neeraj sir. Now it would be my honor to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. N. Khogendra Mitei, who is an HR professional with a comprehensive experience of over 26 years across the industry and over 23 years with NEEPCO, a mini Ratna class CPSE as DGM HR. He has expertise in HR management, talent acquisition, employee promotion, and capability building professionalism. So we would like you to take over the session and address the audience. Thank you. Sir, I would request you to please kindly turn on your speaker mic.
Thank you very much. And it's a great honor to be part of this international conference on a very important topic, which has a great eminence and importance in today's context. There is sustainable development, a value chain perspective. And I'm also thankful to Dr. Giri, faculty of MDI, who was my classmate when we were pursuing MBA long time back, around 25 years back. And must have been already dealt on a subject about the sustainability, sustainable development. Like it is said, sustainable development is that meets the requirement of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation, and that meets their requirement. And also value chain refer to the full life cycle of the product and processes, including the material sourcing, production, consumption, disposal, recycling processes, etc. So whenever these value chain activities are taken, like the sustainability, the points of sustainability has to be kept in mind, and always we need to question ourselves whenever such activities are taken. What is the contribution of the value chain in the economic growth? Then is this economic growth inclusive? Is it taking along all the people, all the participants and the stakeholders together? And is the value chain socially sustainable? And also, is it environmentally sustainable? So I'm sure during this conference, all this must have been covered. But today, I would like to speak something about sustainable HRM, human resource management. Because human resource, as we all know, is the most important, and who are responsible for undertaking all such business activity in any organization. And we have to enable our employees and our production engineers and our professionals for a cleaner production, so that for industry to be a sustainable development. So, for example, our country vision of achieving net zero emission by 2070, in addition to attaining a short-term target which include increasing a renewable capacity of 500 gigawatt by 2030, and also meeting 50% of this requirement from renewable, reducing an emission by 1 billion tons by 2030. So like under this country's vision of power generating power generating companies of India, who has been generating electricity from coal, thermal, natural gas, have been compelled to explore into generation of renewable energy from wind, solar, hydropower, etc. So therefore, HR of this organization have been reoriented to retrain and the plant, so that the human resources of these companies are retrained, and their competency need to be developed on these areas of green energy. So when we talk about green HR initiative, so we can take down to very simple ideas and simple practices. Like, say, for example, in our day-to-day functioning of offices, we can think about increasing efficiency, lowering the cost, and we need to adopt use of electronic filing. Then employees can share the share car while traveling to the office. Then our employees need to be multi-skill, so that job rotation can happen. Then it is a common phenomenon nowadays that meetings are conducted in virtual manner, and even the board meetings are conducted virtually. Then we do online recruitment process, online training. Then the virtual meetings are conducted. So, and also, like in our offices, we need to make our offices as green as possible. Like even though in the initial stages, in the initial processes, it might cost a lot, but in the long run, it will save a lot. Then we need to introduce our HR policies, practices, and also train our current employees to fall into the green initiatives. Like we also adopt such small items thing, and like, for example, whenever a dignitary visit or even gifting, we give the dignitaries with a flower, with a nursery, with a nursery plant. So like then whenever such kind of activity, green initiative is taken, it also helped building the brand of the company, brand of the organization, and that we care for the environment. And also all such kind of activity can be then be inculcated, like during the recruitment processes. So we call it the green recruitment, like the candidates who has fair knowledge about the caring of environmental awareness, and whenever any activity is taken, so they are given certain weightage. And also we, in our recruitment advertisement, we include so that we give a message to the masses, and also intending candidates that we care for the environment, and such kind of candidates are more welcome. And we also like create awareness about the environment, caring about the environment, about the sustainability, by organizing regular training programs. And the employee need to be reminded again and again about the importance of caring for the environment, that we need to grow sustainably. And also, like whenever there is a employee relation activities taken up, like the meeting between the unions, between the employees, so like we try to involve them together, caring for the environment. Maybe a plantation program is organized. Not the meeting is not held in the four walls of in a room, but then like it is carried out together with the activity caring for the environment. Then the paperless offices, like use of electronic and what do you call, as much as possible, like using ERP, then processing the files electronically, and reducing the use of paper as much as possible. Even all the departments are made to set a target about how much percentage of paper reduction can be done during this year, during this financial year. And such targets, if achieved in a recognizable manner, so the team is recognized, appreciated. So such kind of practices are encouraged. Then and also like we adopt EMS, environmental management system, as a part of the quality management system. And also like the objective and the target, annual target are set for each department, each team, each project, each power plant, so that carbon footprint is reduced to the maximum. And we try to surpass the earlier, the previous year's target as much as possible. So these are some of the practices that we do in the power generating company. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. It is my great pleasure to welcome Mr. Manas Bose, Chief General Manager, Operations, ER and SR, Steel Authority of India Limited, based in Kolkata, West Bengal. He has done his Bachelor's of Engineering in BE College, IIEST. Sir, we welcome you to this conference to share your views on sustainable development. Can we have a huge round of applause for sir? Over to you, sir.
Good evening. Am I audible and visible? Hello? Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Just a correction. He is
visible also?
Of the logistics department. Kindly go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, respected Director MDI Murshidabad, other dignitaries present at the dais and who are also connected virtually. I would have loved to be there, but I just would like to share with you that I was working as Executive Director Logistics. Maybe my biodata was little old. Posted in Kolkata, and only this week I have moved from Kolkata to Delhi and taken a role in the SAIL corporate office. So my role is certainly is expanding more than the logistics, and sustainability is one area which also will be part of my activity in this present role. Good evening once again, and it's a great honor to be associated with an educational institute like MDI, which is a renowned institute and spreading valuable education in the country. I would also like to share that SAIL had an association with MDI Gurgaon long time back, and I was also trained in MDI Gurgaon sometime in the early 90s. I think MDI used to run a program called NMP, National Management Program. So that was a very, very effective and very popular program in those days. MDI Murshidabad, although it started 10, 12 years back, but I was just going through the website of this institute. It has, really contributed a lot in this area of management education. And the areas of research and other fellowships are also being offered. So it is great. And since I'm from Bengal, so it's a very good institute, which even some of our known people have also studied, passed out from this institute. And just to share with you that our late president, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, who has actually opened this institute, his son was also working with Steel Authority of India. And I think actively he must be involved also. So we have heard a lot about this institute. So my congratulations to MDI and its collective. Coming back to today's topic, sustainability is no doubt a order of the day. But the industry where I work, I think we are one of the most polluting industry. So it's very pertaining for the steel industry to discuss and talk about sustainability and the steps which steel industry is going to take in the days to come has to be, seen. Not only SAIL as an industry, as an organization, but the entire steel sector of India. All of you must be knowing that India today is the second largest steel producer in the world, number 2, with a capacity of 130 million tons, and actual production is about 112 million tons in the last calendar year. Whereas the top is China, which produces more than 900 million tons. So they're the first boy, much ahead of the second boy, India. But India has a very bright growth story. And just to share with you, the National Steel Policy, which was rolled out by Government of India in 2017, it talks about addition of capacity to 300 million tons by 2030. And most of the major producers of steel like SAIL, Tata Steel, Jindal, JSW, JSPL, ArcelorMittal, these to name a few, everybody is in a capacity expansion mode. And our estimate is that we should be able to reach the target of 300 million tons by 2030 as a country. Now, steel industry, I'm just taking this opportunity to say we'll come back to some of the general topics, sustainability theoretically, maybe educational institutes are talking over it. But as a steel industry, what are the steps which you have taken? I will just want to touch upon you, which would be, maybe beneficial to the young students who are going to be the future leaders of this country. Look, this sustainability in various forums we have been talking from since last quarter of a century, and many moves have been taken by various forums, various conventions to reduce carbon emissions, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But collectively, possibly, there was, disjointed efforts from various industries, various sectors globally. I can tell you one of the major move which globally was taken by IMO 2020, International Maritime Organization, when they have, controlled that sulfur emission by reducing the sulfur emission in the marine fuel. And in 2020, when this new marine fuel was introduced, people are thinking that, the whole world will come to a standstill. But all the global producers, including the shipping companies, who are one of the major contributors to the greenhouse gases, they have, swiftly changed to the new technology. And thanks to that, there was no disruption, and we have been able to, meet the international standards. I'm saying this because SAIL is also one of the largest importer, and we use ocean trade is one of our, main logistics activity. So we were, deeply involved in this entire exercise. So sustainability attempts have been made, various sectors, various industries, but collectively, possibly today, the way it is being focused, it is to be seen. Now, COP27, we have seen all the nations have joined together. Individual nations have set their own targets. India has set a target of 2070 net zero. But just to share with you, many of the industries in India, including Indian Railways, including companies like us, we are taking up various targets at various phases. We are not going to wait till 2070, 2025, 2028, 2030, 2035. Various milestones we have worked out how we can reduce the overall footprint of greenhouse gas emissions. And in steel industry, the two technology which is being talked about today is the carbon capture and the hydrogen injection. Hydrogen will be the future of fuel in every sector, whether it's an automobile or whether it's steel making. So this is going to be a clean fuel, and the emission standards will be highly advanced, where we can reduce this overall greenhouse gas emission. Now, one or two just initiatives which steel as a sector has taken. We have a substantial amount of logistics, which are mostly road. Today, from roadways, we are shifting to railways. From railways, we are shifting to waterways. Ultimate objective is to see that the carbon footprint is low, and we can move large parcel with a less energy consumption. Government of India has also come out with a lot of policies. One of the policies is that the Gati Shakti policy, all of you must have heard, which is going to change the landscape, logistics landscape of this country. And with multimodal connectivity, we are going to reach every nook and corner of this country. The ultimate objective is to reduce, greenhouse gas emission, reduce pollution, reduce carbon footprint, and improve efficiency. Government of India has also come out with a national logistics policy, which is very much, building the concept of sustainability in its core of its policy. So every organization, every industry has to, look towards this new, industry pattern of sustainable development. All of you must be knowing today that today all the corporates are necessarily have to report their ESG reporting, environmental, social, and governmental regulations. This ESG reporting has become a mandatory today, and it gives a insight by the investors as well as the society at large to see how the organization is moving and how organization is going to behave being within the society. So the effort, the initiative which MDI has taken today, this International Conference on Sustainability and Value, value chain perspective, it's very much contemporary topic. And I'm sorry I was not part of any other deliberation in the past. This could have enhanced our knowledge. But since I'm working in an industry which is, very much closely related to sustainable development, we are committed as an industry, we are committed as a country to adhere to all the regulations and the expectations of the society to be a sustainable organization. I have nothing to add, but I wish that students of MDI also, take up careers in industries like SAIL, and which is a very heavy industry, and many people are only today, maybe people are very fancy about IT and computer science, but we as an industry offer lots of opportunity for growth, for advancement, for building this country as a whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We really hope your association with MDI continues for a long time. It is my great pleasure now to welcome Dr. W.C. Singh, a professor of management at Manipur University and presently on leave to the administration as registrar at Manipur University. He has attended FDPM, IIM Ahmedabad, 34th batch, National FDP in Entrepreneurship, EDII Ahmedabad. Dr. Singh has actively contributed to India, ASEAN and SAARC countries, UAE and the United Kingdom, conducting FDPs and MDPs, case method of teaching workshops and academic administrators workshop, etc. Sir, now I would really appreciate if you get going with addressing to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening. The learned dignitaries, respected Director of MDI Murshidabad, Dr. Sunil Giri, the conference chair, respected delegates, research scholars, students, and all the invitees. At the very outset, I just would like to congratulate the MDI Murshidabad for successfully organizing two-day international conference on sustainable development, a value chain perspective. And in fact, it is a great honor for me to be invited in this platform for addressing the valedictory session of the conference on such a valuable and contemporary theme, that is sustainable development, a value chain perspective. Well, I'm pleased to note that the conference has been able to attract research papers on various aspects of sustainability. I could listen some of the speeches and the presentations and the comments, and it is commendable. So in fact, sustainable development need not be an agenda, as per my understanding, of a specific organization or nation. However, it needs to be a shared vision of all nations, organizations, groups, and individuals. Today, we live in a world where acute poverty and destitutions coexist with extreme wealth, where one is, say, 1 in 8 among us live in extreme poverty, and 2 in 5 are without access to adequate sanitation, where the rate of maternal and child mortality, though it is said have been controlled quite well, but unacceptably still high in various parts of the world. And millions of our children are out of schools till today. The government has taken up, say, large-scale initiatives, but to the far-flung in interior areas of the various regions and locations throughout the world, this problem has not yet been, say, controlled and improved so far. At the same time, okay, many women and a child are still deprived of from equal opportunities. In India, the improvement has, say, seen, but in the northeastern region of India also we have seen this improvement. But equal opportunities on one side that has not yet been fully, say, improved, and we cannot say that equal opportunities have been given, say, throughout the country and throughout the world. On one side, we talk about, say, suppose heightened tensions and the humanitarian crisis, the violence, interlinked and multiplying conflicts, unprecedented scale of movement of people, and forced to flee their homes due to climate change. And it is still is expected that by 2050, more than 2.1 billion people will be flee from their homes because of this climate issues and climate change. Today, on sustainability, we talk about reduce, reuse, and recycle. And these three major approaches have been the talk of the town, and many researchers have been trying to give focus on reduce, reuse, and recycle with relation to sustainability. And this has been something very, very important today. And this may require the use of technology and innovation, and creative minds and dedicated efforts are still required to contribute more towards this aspect. And particularly the younger generation people, they need to focus more with relation to the sustainable development and its innovative practices, its mind and ideas. This is extremely important.
Various capacities.
Besides that, all the stakeholders of our society are also required to realize the urgency of adopting such a sustainable practices. And this should be included in our day-to-day activity, in our business organizations, in our life, and in our policy decisions. The effort of the MDI group, Murshidabad, and in this line is much appreciable. And I thank once again the MDI Murshidabad for organizing this conference in a very, very successful and grand manner. And I finally thank all the paper contributors. I thank all the learned delegates for their support to MDI. And this is something which we should do across the country and throughout the world on a regular basis. That will bring a lot of awareness, and new initiatives will be seen and shared among us, and that will definitely help us in due course of time, the way we are talking about building a sustainable world and sustainable development. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to me and interacting with you all, and seeing all the learned delegates sitting in this big hall. Thank you once again.
Now I request Director Sir, it is symbolic.
Thank you so much, Professor Singh, for helping us realize the urgency of adapting to sustainable practices. So now, let me allow you to introduce to you Dr. Murli Kanakasabai, co-founder and chief operating officer of Exponential Exchange, USA. His career has been a mix of academia, private sector, and non-profits, with a focus on designing market-based risk management and financial instruments. He has advised both the public and private sector on structuring market-based climate and clean energy. He has advised both the public and private sector. Dr. Kanakasabai currently serves as the co-founder and chief operating officer at Exponential Exchange, a boutique market innovation firm that develops novel financial instruments that intersect big data analytics with technology. He was named to the first class of Louis Walton Innovators Fellowship in 2017 by Conservation International. He currently serves on the Strategic Advisory Board of Institute of Industrial Productivity. We welcome you, sir, and we would like you to address the audience now. Kindly have a huge round of applause for sir.
Thank you all very much. Good evening, and thank you for the kind words, and thank you for inviting me to be at this particular event. I know it's a very opportune time to be talking about sustainability and to get involved with sustainability. As we get recovery from the pandemic, the COVID-19 kind of showed us the pace at which it moved across globally. It showed us the inextricable link that we have between our interconnected economies with environmental degradation and climate change. The global crisis also taught us important lessons on sustainability, on resilience. Corporates that were more resilient were able to bounce back and manage, better. The focus on SDG goals and then transparency. And so those are very great lessons for us from this huge pandemic, from this health scare that we had. What I figured I would do with the time that has been allotted to me, the most efficient way is to talk about some emerging themes in sustainability as I see it. The time span of about 5 to 10 years for these themes to kind of evolve and mature and develop in this whole space. To start off with, we did end 2022 on a very, very high note. At least if you measure it in terms of the total corporate net zero commitments, the national net zero commitments that we got in 2022. According to the Net Zero Stocktake report of 2022, the national pledges rose sixfold between 2019 and 2022, just in a span of 3 years, from covering 16% of the global gross GDP to now 91%. The corporates were not that far behind. We have over 700 corporations which have some kind of net zero commitments that are out there in various standards that are out there, globally. What this shows is a clear signal that political leaders, corporate leaders are responding to the urgency for the call of sustainability. And that's a very, very good signal, right? But before we get, start congratulating ourselves and, start celebrating, we do have to acknowledge that 2023 starts off with challenges. It inherits a slowing global economy, persistent inflation, geopolitical conflict with the Ukraine war, as well as recessionary fears in much of the globe, right? So what does this economic uncertainty actually mean in terms of those commitments being followed through? Are they just going to be greenwashing, right? What impact will those kind of actual paths that corporates and nations take have on a very incipient evolving field of sustainable finance and markets is something that is still debatable. Right? In spite of that short-term challenges, I remain very, very optimistic in terms of the direction that sustainability pathway is going to be taken. And my optimism rests on some of these trends that we are seeing, globally in terms of sustainability. And I kind of go through some of them and share with you some of those thoughts. The first one is the rise in sustainable disclosure standards. Globally, there has been an increased call for disclosure on sustainability standards, be it climate disclosure, be it sourcing, human resources, or the treatment of indigenous communities and minorities. The Securities and Exchange Commission in the United States, that is the regulatory body for all public listed companies, now requires all listed companies as part of their quarterly filings to include climate disclosure. And if you are a bank or a financial institution, they're supposed to do climate stress tests on what is the impact climate disasters and climate impacts can have on your portfolios. That particular trend is not something that you see in the US alone. You see that even more perhaps in Europe, with the European Financial Reporting Advisory Board, the Sustainable Standards Board, the European Taxonomy that came up in 2020, the deforestation, zero deforestation pledges that are now required in Europe. So a lot of those things in movement, right? That not only rests with mainstream regulators, you also see it outside of the regulators. We are seeing a similar trend with the Task Force for Financial Disclosure that kind of started a lot of this particular trend. Net zero commitments, SBTI, GRI standards, etc. So a lot of calls for disclosure coming up, standards being set up for that. And what one would see in the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully, is that there is greater interaction among all these different standards, that there is greater convergence among these standards, so corporations and nations can find it better to manage this disclosure with more ease, more clarity, and more transparency. So that kind of convergence taking place, I think, is where we have this kind of movement. The second trend I would see is the increased sustainably linked litigation. In the year 2020, you witnessed what many people call the first climate-linked bankruptcy. And you saw that in a big public utility in California called Pacific Gas and Electric. And what really happened over there was Pacific Gas and Electric was implicated in some faulty equipment that they had in the forest area that started a fire that ended up being the biggest fire that California had ever seen. And Pacific Gas and Electric had legal claims of over $30 billion, and they filed for bankruptcy. This is a poster child of what could happen when SDG sustainability are not followed as a mainstream operational practice, and climate litigation is bound to increase. ESG-related litigation is bound to increase. In 2022, we had 2,000 cases in the United States that are linked to ESG. This pushes corporations to take the whole aspect of sustainability and ESG more seriously, to set achievable, measurable, and transparent sustainable targets, and not just have greenwashing, which is a big topic of conversation, these days. The next topic is on the focus on resilience and adaptation. I spent my career, almost 20 years in climate change. And if you look even today in that, as that whole space has evolved, much of the focus in tackling climate change has been on climate mitigation, on how do we transition from fossil fuels to renewables and cleaner energy, those sorts of things. The critical importance of adaptation has not been really focused upon, but it's becoming increasingly clear that adaptation is an important component that we need to be focusing on. According to the World Meteorological Organization, it states that from a period from 1970 to 2019, just studying all the different disasters that have taken place, climate-related disasters are now 5-fold more, and that trend is bound to continue, right? And what makes this even more worse, exacerbates this whole situation, is in many economies, we are not paying enough attention to infrastructure, to putting money in green infrastructure, for developing infrastructure, and the physical risk that is coming from climate change is increasing. The funding gap for adaptation is almost $360 billion a year, right? So there's an increased focus on adaptation that is bound to grow. In the last year's climate conference in Egypt, the Conference of Parties, a loss and damage fund was set up. That is the step in the right direction. We had an adaptation fund prior to that with about $300 billion in collections, but this whole focus is now kind of reaching its inflection point and is bound to continue. The private sector has not been left behind. There are lots of specialized investment funds focusing exclusively on resilience and adaptations that have been set up, putting investments in technology and other developments that are focused on adaptation. The next trend I would share is something, again, that's very close to my heart, is nature, and the greater integration of nature in the whole corporate CSR toolkit. Across the board, the importance of nature is becoming very, very clear. If you take carbon offsetting, for example, on the carbon market, more than half of the volume of carbon credits are credits that are sourced from nature, nature-based credits. And among the different types of carbon credits that are out there for offsetting, nature-based credits actually command the greatest price, and they are the ones where the demand, routinely is more than the supply that is available. But even beyond carbon, corporations are exploring new ways in which they can contribute to nature. These include companies whose supply chain depends on nature directly, as well as companies where it does not depend on nature. In the former category, companies like Starbucks, Walmart, Procter & Gamble are big corporations that are integrating the places that they are sourcing, the nature in the places from which they are sourcing into a sustainable pathway, into reduced deforestation and empowering the local communities in those particular areas. Others like Apple, a technology company, for example, is setting up a large investment fund, has already set up a $200 million investment fund called Restore, where they are actually putting return-seeking dollars into nature and natural conservation. Global insurers are exploring ways in which mangrove conservation and mangrove preservation can contribute to reducing and mitigating catastrophic risks into green gray infrastructure, etc. So the next decade can purely be a decade where nature comes to the prominence, and you have more and more integration of nature into our whole sustainability matrix, which is very, very important. Fifth, growing importance of quality in the carbon markets. If you are familiar with the carbon markets and follow those markets, the single biggest debate going on right now in the voluntary carbon market is the issue of carbon credit quality. And that particular debate gets to the core of why these credits exist in the first place. If you ask a carbon market purist, they would say a carbon credit that is generated that ensures that there is actual carbon that it is removing from the atmosphere and the methodology behind it is a robust enough credit. But others will argue that the way in which that carbon is generated, the system and the frameworks that it sits on is very, very important in order to determine the quality of that credit. So what do I mean by that? The livelihoods of the local communities involved. If you're having a forestry project, how does that whole impact in generating that particular carbon? Environmental conditions, biodiversity conditions, all of that multi-different attributes of that carbon being produced are core aspects of that particular quality. And there is an increasing push that we have carbon offsetting done to credits that are quality carbon credits that promote other SDGs rather than just produce carbon from a climate mitigation standpoint. I expect this debate, it's a very healthy debate, to continue. I expect many standards to come, standards to converge, and then greater clarity for corporations that are looking to offset carbon and be carbon neutral. Topic number 6 in terms of the theme is the increased use of big data, analyticals, and technology to achieve sustainable outcomes. This whole field has not been immune from the big data revolution that has impacted almost every other field. Technology and big data are a disruptor, and it's evident in the increased integration that corporations are having in terms of how they use their particular resources, how do they track them, and how do they report them according to SDG goals, etc. The most recent big example that I can provide you is from Salesforce. Obviously, everybody's familiar with Salesforce, and they have now entered the whole business of ESG, allowing their corporations to track ESG, to track their carbon, to compare with their peers, etc. You also have the emergence of citizen data, of public data, and that is making available more real-time data, more high-resolution data that allows you to make better decision-making on all things operational, including sustainability. The 7th theme is the continued investment flows into sustainably linked new innovation. We live in a time when there has been a lot of correction in the public equity markets, in the private equity markets, with valuations, with deal flows, etc., in almost every other field. But that has not impacted the climate tech startup field. Climate tech startups make up more than a quarter of all the VC fundings in the first 3 quarters of 2022. And that trend is not stopping, even in this particular economic environment. At the end of last year, about 300 billion in dry powder in order to invest back into climate tech, into VC funding was still available for deployment in climate tech. And climate tech is providing more efficient ways of getting the old job done, cheaper, higher performance, and more transparency. The passage of the Inflation Reduction Act in the United States that provides a lot of green incentives adds momentum and policy heft to this particular movement. And so I see a lot of new innovations coming out because of this seeding, VC funding to new innovations in the climate tech area, green jobs and value creation going forward this decade and the next. One of the chief sustainability officers of a very large hedge fund told me that just like we had the digital revolution, and there was a lot of new innovation and asset creation that was created, value generation created. They say the similar parallel today with the sustainability revolution. So that's what you're seeing with some of this smart money, I would say, moving. And then lastly, I will end with a note on environmental market, a topic that I've been involved with in my entire career, a market that has been incipient and growing for over 20 years. And that is the creation of sustainable asset classes and tradable credits that go beyond carbon. Thus far, we have seen the growth of carbon, renewable energy, and few other environmental asset classes that have gone from being a niche market to a mainstream market. After nearly 2 decades, we now have almost every major trading venue globally that have incorporating a product suite of environmental tradable products into their markets. There's almost been a rush in terms of including an environmental product suite within their classes. But we have only touched the tip of the iceberg with respect to that. Product classes that separate out the ESG attributes are bound to make an entry, and they hold great promise. What I mean by that is you're separating the commodity in terms of how it is produced, whether there has been an indigenous community attribute or not, whether there has been a gender-related attribute or not. These kinds of attributes have a value proposition, and you're seeing those come into the market. You're also seeing traditional commodities that have been traded for 100 years now being added with more of an environmental tag associated with them. Green aluminum, green petroleum, those kinds of things. Indices being developed that kind of provide that environmental attribute and touch to them. I see this trend continuing. I see a lot of new innovation coming out in terms of tradable products, as well as the data from these products is a huge source of value creation in the whole financial industry that I work on. So with those 8 trends, I will conclude my speech with those thoughts. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this conference. Wish you all continued success in the important work that you all do. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with your wisdom and experience on implementing sustainable trends in the corporate world. We're sure the audience got a lot of useful insights on how to reduce the carbon footprint by the maximum utilization of available resources. Now, moving ahead, I would like to request Neeraj, sir, to please felicitate Director sir with flowers.
Can we have a huge round of applause, please? Thank you, Neeraj sir. Dr. Atmanand sir is a well-known economist, administrator, and academician currently employed as the director of MDI Murshidabad. He also served as the director in charge at MDI Gurgaon. In addition, he has served as an independent director of the Central Bank of India, SAIL, PTC India Limited. Dr. Atmanand has over 34 years of experience in teaching, research, and consulting, and he is one of India's longest serving deans. His many years of service has been recognized with awards such as Rashtriya Gaurav Award for his excellence and contribution to nation building, the Indian Achievers Award for Corporate Leadership 2010, and the Economic Development Award for the Excellence in Higher Education 2011. Sir, it's a great honor to have you associated with our institution. And now I would like to invite you on stage to put up your closing remarks. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Dr. W. Singh, Registrar Manipur University, Guest of Honor Sri Hogendra Mehti, DGMHR, NIPCO, Meghalaya, Sri Manas Bose, ED Logistics and Infrastructure SAIL, validity keynote speakers, Dr. Murali Kanakaksabi, co-founder and chief operating officer, Exponential Exchange, USA, researchers from across the world, colleagues from the corporate and academia, scholars, my faculty members, and non-faculty colleagues and dear students. I would like to start by congratulating each and every one of us for successfully completing the International Conference of MDIM, that is SDVP-2023. I also thank all the keynote speakers who have enlightened the conference with their valuable thoughts during the last 2 days. The event witnessed the presence of more than 138 author registration from across the globe, including 12 foreign papers and authors registration from academicians, researchers, and corporates. 4 keynote addresses delivered by renowned academicians and researchers. 25 research-oriented academicians chaired 14 tracks in the domain of marketing, finance, HRM, operations and supply chain management, strategy, economics, social and cultural environment. They provided their valuable and insightful comments to presenters. Also, total 11 student papers and poster and 1 NGO track were also part of the conference. There were paper presenters from renowned academic institutions from across the country, and 82 papers and posters were presented during these 2 days. It is a matter of great satisfaction that there were intellectually stimulating discussions in the technical sessions, and well-known scholars in their fields acted as the technical sessions chair. Inauguration and validatory ceremonies were also graced by renowned academicians and well-known corporate professionals. The conference also witnessed a wonderful handicraft fair, which was organized in association with District Information Center, Murshidabad, and local KVIC cluster, Mirzapur, and also support from Jute Corporation of India. I would also like to thank the sponsors of this conference, namely Jute Corporation of India, Pearson Publisher, Punjab National Bank, KPMG, for bestowing their trust upon us. Thank you for your support and cooperation. We look forward to maintaining our existing associations with them. This conference attempted to create a forum for academicians, researchers, industry practitioners, and students to share their ideas and research findings and address contemporary issues and challenges in business and industry. That will not only contribute to sustainable development, but also add up to corporate sustainability. Additionally, it attempted to propagate a research-centric culture in various domains and provided opportunity for academicians, researchers, industry experts, practitioners, professionals, social workers, students from different areas to engage in discussion based on issues related to sustainability development. It also shared the information and knowledge related to strategies for incorporating sustainable development principles in the ecosystem, both in Indian and global countries. Congratulations once again, and best wishes to all. Now, I declare the conference officially closed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your closing remarks. As we get an inch closer to the end of this international conference, it is time for us to invite Dr. Paroma ma'am to put all her valuable vote of thanks. Dr. Paroma Mitra is Area Chairperson of Economics, Chairperson of Library, and Chairperson of CSR Committee in MDI Murshidabad. She has participated in campus MDPs for executives, officers of various organizations such as LICI, MSTC, FSNL, and WBCS executive probationers. With a strong desire to see society progress, she has organized international sustainable development conferences such as the SDVP 2018 and 2019, along with this year's event, and also wrote a book on sustainable development. Ma'am, we welcome you on stage with a big round of applause.
A very good evening to all. The delighted guests in the Zoom, also here in the auditorium of MDI Murshidabad campus. So last 2 days we are just talking about sustainable development. In very simple words, it's like saving our own Mother Earth. So I really thank our chief guest of this session, Professor Dr. W.C. Singh. Thank you, sir. We thanks our guest of honor, Sri Khogendra Miti. We thanks Sri Manas Bose. We thank our valedictory keynote speaker, Dr. Murali Kangsabai. We like to give our thanks to our patron, Dr. Atmanand sir, for motivating to organize this kind of conference from 2018 onwards, 18, 19, and this year, 2023, we are organizing once more. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable support. We really give our thanks to all our guests from different organizations and academic institutions and press also. We like to give our thanks to our advisory committee of 21 members. Thank you, all of them. Our thanks should be given to our 25 session chairs. Without their support, it was impossible to conduct this kind of conference. As sir said also, we like to thank all our 138 authors from all over the world, because without their contribution in the topic, we can't able to organize this kind of conference. We like to thank our 4 sponsors, Jute Corporation of India Limited, Punjab National Bank, Pearson, Publisher, and KPMG. Thank you all. For handicap fair, we like to thank the District Information Center, Murshidabad, and the local cluster of Mirzapur, KVIC. And also we like to thank JCI also. As this kind of conference actually connect the dots between the corporate worlds, the policymaker, the academician who are researching on the topic, and also with the people who are working in the ground level. So we like to thank to all our 2 NGOs who are working in the ground level. So thanks Sini and Suprabha. To all our faculty members and non-faculty members and ground level staff, we really like to thank all of you. And last but not the least is our students, because we know last 2 days how you people are working with us. Without your support, without your volunteer support, it is not possible. So big clap to all of you first. Special thanks to all the volunteers who are working for this conference, SDVP-2023. And finally, I like to thank all my other co-chairpersons of this conference. Thank you, because this is a team. Without a good team, we cannot work many things. So it's a full team of MDI Murshidabad also, like the faculty members, staffs, and non-faculty members and students. We are working together to achieve more other goals. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Poruma ma'am. And everyone, can we have a huge round of applause again for the successful event? Now, as a part of information, I would like to request you all to gather for the tea break. Thank you.